Century Big Box. It's what the title says. This is an edition of the 3 games in the Century line, the first 3 ones, not the Golden Edition, but the Spice Road, the Eastern Wonders, and the New World games that are standalone games, and now you can place them all in a single box if you are, oh my gosh, I can't handle 3. Now, something to be said, these big box editions from other games, sometimes on top of being all placed in a big box, they are deluxeified, and this is not what's happening here. Most of the components are not any different from what you have in the original 3 games. They do include the mini expansions that were released separately, but it's mainly really the 3 games in a single place. It also comes with rules to play the blended games in which you can combine them. And I played the 3 original games and I like them all. The first one, Spice Road, still remains my favorite. To me, Splendor or Open Draft with an element of deck building. The elegance in which that is done, to me, that is unmatched, but I also like the other 2 resulting games. Eastern Wonders, which is more a race game, you're going around the board to collect stuff and then you drop it off, and A New World is a worker placement, the general idea of Spice Road, but with a worker placement mechanic. So, what you're going to find here is those 3 games, plus the components and the rules to blend them, plus a true new expansion. So so this is the box as it will look like when you open it. At least that's how I organized it. Here you see the boards for Eastern Wonder. They are still made of thin cardstock, which is a bit annoying because here you will place game pieces that need to go on that grid exactly because they reveal bonuses as you remove them. And then we have, again, still the thin personal boards for the players for A New World, and the boards that form the game board for A New World. You're going to place 3 of them that are always the same. And then you have several other ones, so A, B, and C, forming this board here, where you see is somewhere, C, there you go. That's what they do, and then you're gonna choose one of these other ones to fill that space. And the problem, as you can see, is that these are thin, and so they're already a little bit warped. I don't think they're going to get a lot better as time goes by. I don't know, maybe, if I place them like this on top and then the lid, maybe that way. But they are a little wobbly, and since they'll be full of like really tiny meeples, it's not the best production in the world. As for the games themselves, you had the box where you can organize your components. And I guess the idea of a big box is appealing in its own, but maybe didn't need to be quite as big. As you can see, there's a lot of empty space here. These are the components for the basic game, Spice Road. These for Eastern Wonders. This is New World and this is Eastern Wonders. Eastern Wonder is really the only one that fills up the space nicely. We have a room here for cards, 4 personal boards. Now, these are the personal boards for Spice Road, and these are layered now. Totally awesome. So we have a reminder of the 10 cubes that we can store at the end of the turn, but again, I guess that you can use those for this game. The only difference, you need to remember that there are only 3 of these stats that you can collect, and then you can use these ones. Of course, they're not going to be thematic, so there is that. This is one of the few upgrades that I've been able to spot. Everything else, we got coins, we got the cubes, we got the balls in which we're going to place the cubes. Incidentally, I really loved how in the original game, the balls, once you filled them with cubes, they would just rest flush against the lid of the box, so you could move the box, shake it all you wanted, then you would open the box and these were just ready to take out, already loaded. You can't quite do that with the big box. We got the meeples for New World. They're really tiny, and they do tend to get a little bit lost in the BZ board here. And we have the tiles for Eastern Wonders. So I'm not gonna go over the games in details. They've all been out for a while now, just to give you a sense of the components, and so you get a sense that these are the components. Now, the cards for Spice Road are the component that received the biggest change. Not the point cards; these are still exactly the same. But the actual merchant cards that you will build your deck with have been subjected to this expansion called Golden Deals. It comes in this box here, and you will find sleeves for all of your cards, including, yay, starter cards, and that's why they're sleeved here. And then these plastic inserts. And as I saw that, I thought, yay, card crafting, you know, like a Mystic Veil, but that's not it. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna take the merchant cards. You're gonna take the merchant cards, and you do place them in plastic sleeves, and then you add a random template to each of them. So now each has two effects, one on the side, one on the bottom. I'm not sure why they didn't just print those on those and then told you, well, just ignore them if you're playing the game without the Golden Deals version. I don't know that it's gonna be so important for people. Well, I really like the game, but I think after playing it, we have one too many of these effects, and so I'm gonna replace it with this one. I don't think people are gonna get into that level of customization, really. But that's what you have when you're gonna have all these sleeves and all of these transparent inserts. That you're gonna have more of these inserts than the actual cards to add them to. What do you do with those effects? Well, if you know the game, and of course they kind of become slippery. If you know the game, there's gonna be a line of these cards in the middle of the table, and players will acquire them. The one that is the furthest from the draw deck you can get for free, and the other ones you need to place a cube on each card that you skip, going from furthest to closest to the deck. So if I want this card, I'm gonna place a cube here, and I take this one. And so then we slide the remaining ones down, and when players collect a card that has cubes on them, only good for them, they get the cubes also. So that's how they work in the original game. Now, because they have these extra things at the bottom, you can use them in two different ways. One, you can use them from the line in the middle of the table directly, meaning you take a card from your hand, you discard it, so you pay an opportunity cost right there, and then you select a card from the line, paying cube cost as usual, but then instead of acquiring it and placing it into your hand, you trigger that effect, and then you discard it into a common discard pile. I guess the idea is that you may want to remove a card there that you're afraid the opponent is going to take, but mainly the main effect, which is kind of neat, is that from time to time, my hand is not particularly good. I'm kind of out of position. What I need and what I have in my hand is not particularly good. And so I try discarding a card for an effect that I don't want to get that effect there may be beneficial in some cases. And so an effect here, for example, is to take a card from your discard pile and put it back in hand. The other way is that if you already have one of these cards in your hand, and then you discard a card from hand as an opportunity cost, and then you discard this one out of the game, and you get the benefit indicated there, which seems like a really inefficient way. So these effects that we have at the bottom, what they do, they give you an extra way of using cards, but they're all a one-time use before the card goes into a shared discard pile. I enjoy the little flexibility only when it comes to taking a card that I don't need so much, playing it, and be able to use another effect. That is neat. It's kind of the equivalent in other deck building games of removing a weak card from your deck. But now, if you remove here from this game, if you know how the game works, then you will need to spend a lot of actions to get the cards back in your hand. So your deck doesn't become thinner, but for all intents and purposes, you have removed the effect of a card that maybe you don't need anymore, and you can use another effect there. That is neat. That little twist I really enjoy. I haven't seen anybody still being desperate enough to use the other action in which you take one of these cards and you, from your hand, you discard it forever just to trigger that effect. There, we guess it may happen. But that little flexibility there to play cards for that effect from the center line, that is good. I really like it. And this is the only mechanical change that I could see in the Century Big Box. So what we have here is really a collection of other games, of the 3 original games, without much of a deluxification other than for these layer cards and other that for the sleeves that come with. We have this mini expansion, Golden Deals, which I like quite a bit. But if you already have the other games, it is up to you to decide if, of course, acquiring this expansion is worth acquiring the big box. If you don't have any of the games, well, this is a neat addition. But again, if you have several of the other ones, well, it'll be up to you to decide if this box is for you.